me show you a short recording on what to do if you have held the redetermination meeting and the team has agreed that no further testing is needed to continue eligibility. Remember, you do not follow this step if the team has agreed that more testing is needed to continue eligibility. This is only the step you follow if the team agrees that no testing is needed to continue eligibility. So you've held the redetermination meeting, you've gone through that student blank determination document, that Word document with all of the data, you've gone through the redetermination checklist, and the team has agreed that no further testing is needed to continue eligibility. You've uploaded those documents into Infinite Campus along with the minutes for that redetermination meeting. So this next step, if you have if no testing is needed, is more for state reporting, but you're going to go here and click on New Document. Then you're going to choose the top choice of Create New Evaluation and choose Redetermination Team Continued Eligibility Today. So we've tried to make that pretty straightforward, and again, you're only doing this if no testing was requested to continue the student's eligibility area. Click Create Document. Then you're going to add the date that you held that redetermination meeting. The eligibility type, you're going to choose redetermination. It's really not necessary to add the consent date or any of the other information because, again, this is more for state reporting. Click Save and Continue. And then you're going to have to add all of the team members that were in attendance at that redetermination meeting. So you'll choose their name, their position, LEA, occupational therapist, parent, whatever their role was, and then yes or no if they agree with the report. You may have to do the link and fetch new team members. There is a job aid in the Special Education Resources Notebook if you need the resource on how to do that. So once you've added all team members that were in attendance, you'll click Save, and that won't save because I don't have a student in there, but I'm just going to leave the page. The next step is you need to make sure if you do not have an annual review meeting scheduled immediately following that redeterm meeting where no testing was needed for that student, you still need to hold an IEP amendment. So there must be some form of IEP meeting held following that redetermination meeting where no testing is needed to continue eligibility. So say, for example, I'm holding an amendment meeting. I'm just going to choose amendment and be specific in your reason. Team agreed to continue eligibility, and then you can list the areas, but be specific in your reasons, and this is for any amendment on the reasons when you're doing the amendments. Be specific on 10/20/16 in the area of SLI. So let's just say they were only speech. You're going to want to make sure you update the eligibility area. If this is an annual review, you're going to update that, and if it's an amendment, you're going to update that. Remember, if it is an amendment, you won't change any of these meeting dates. This is a test student, so a lot of this information is going to be blank for the homeschool, but if it was an annual review or an amendment, you'd have those filled out. So you're going to want to make sure you update the eligibility date there, as well as on the exceptionality classification tab. So if it's an annual review or an amendment, you just want to make sure you update it with the date that you held that redetermination meeting and the team decided that the student continued eligibility. So update the date that you held that redeterm meeting and the next due date. The other area that you must change if you're doing an amendment or an annual review is you want to make sure on the present levels tab, on that first paragraph, you should always have the student's eligibility area or areas and the date they were found eligible. So if you're doing an amendment, you're just going to want to make sure you change that date. So Jane was found eligible or continued to meet eligibility in the area of speech language impairment on 10/20/16 and add the date you had that redetermination meeting, and then make sure you save that. If the parent had any additional concerns or anything like that, you can add that if you're just holding an amendment. And then the only other area you are going to want to do if you're just doing an amendment is you're going to want to create a new team meeting. And make sure you just add a quick blurb about the minutes that the student continued to meet eligibility on such and such date in the area of team agreed with this, just some short blurb in the minutes. So again, if you requested or did not request testing, the student continued to meet eligibility, you still must hold either an annual review or an IEP amendment if no annual review is needed at that time. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, Becky Moody at bmoody@k12.com, and I'll be happy to help you. I also wanted to remind you that there are some resources in SharePoint as well. There is this flow chart on the Special Education Resources tab, and it is under the Eligibility and Redetermination tab in SharePoint, and I'll show you that in 1 second. But this really goes through, you can follow the path of if further testing is needed or if no further testing is needed. And this is the path we followed today in this recording. Also, like I said, in the Resources Notebook, if you go to the Eligibility and Redetermination tab here, and it's going to be slow on me, but that is where that flow chart is located. So you can see here the redetermination flow chart. Now, the SOP I have listed here, but that just links you to this standard operating procedure tab. So you can click if you want to find the guidelines. We all learn differently on how we learn this process. There is going to be an uploaded redetermination process, standard operating process. It was formerly the job aid, but we're moving it to a standard operating procedure. So once that's approved, that will be updated and added here. So be on the lookout for that. Again, if you have any questions, just